Hello, hello. Good evening, ladies and
Hello.
gentlemen. Welcome to Club Star Wars. And please welcome our special guest, Mr. Colin Wilby. How you doing, Colin?
I'm very well, thanks. You guys all right?
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a long time since we've seen each other in the flesh, so to speak.
Yes, I've missed the beard. The beard's kind of gone. It's been like down here, and then it's receded. It's kind of been in all states since I saw you.
Very true. And the hair's gone. Last time you saw me, the hair was down my back.
Yeah.
I've come disguised as a much older man.
See, I've got no hair on my head, but I've got hair on my back. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, Matt's slowly morphing into a bald Wookiee as we speak.
Yeah.
So, thanks for joining us, Colin. What we're trying to do here, we noticed that we kind of fell into a pattern for a period where we're just kind of covering Star Wars news and falling into the trap of whinging about The Last Jedi and things like that. So,
is that why I'm here? Oh, I'll see you later.
Okay, Colin, tell us what the problems were with the sequel trilogy. Anyway, no, I mean, we can talk about that later if you want, but
no, you're right. I want to talk about proper Star Wars. Yeah.
Yes, proper Star Wars.
Yes.
So we decided, and to be fair, you did point us in a few directions here and there and suggest things, so we're very grateful for that. But it just felt a good time to talk about the positives of Star Wars and different areas of the fandom, because obviously, I've got my obsessions about Star Wars, Matt's got his obsessions, you've got yours. But obviously, it all starts with that initial thing of seeing the movie or whatever it was that started you off on that journey. So, can you remember back into the depths of time about what was the first sort of thing that drew you to Star Wars?
Star Wars was one of the things. I came late to the party on Star Wars because I was born in '82. So Star Wars had kind of been and gone by the time I was kind of like 6, 7. So it was all Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters when I was at that age, and Star Wars was just really unpopular. If you kind of mentioned, it's weird because like late '80s, early '90s, Star Wars was just unheard of. Really,
There was a bit of a lull there, wasn't there? Yeah.
Yeah, literally, you could pick up figures in car boot sales, and nothing was really Star Wars at all. And then I think when I got to high school, and I got the. Do you remember the? Was it John Alvin who did the covers of the VHS covers?
Yeah.
I think I borrowed those from mate, watched them, thought they were cool, thought they were a little bit dated, and then special editions came out, and I didn't go to cinema to watch them, but I picked them up on VHS, the gold, that cool Vader packaging with the Vader kind of embossed on, and then that it just I was in then completely in. But it took the special editions to really get me into it.
That's interesting, that because it wasn't all. I don't think it wasn't Alvin actually. Alvin never did a Star Wars. I don't think it was kind of those. Oh, hang on, yeah. So it was the ISD Executor box set. I think Alvin did do the artwork for those. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but previous to that, because I had like the widescreen VHS editions before that. Like the
I think it came out about 94, 95.
Yeah, they were. It was like I remember they were heralded as this is the last time you can buy the original Star Wars, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, so we better buy it."
Yeah.
What he meant was because he knew that the special editions were coming. So it was the last time you could buy the original Star Wars. Okay, so
but I watched them backwards for me. I mean, I started with Return of the Jedi because it was just seemed to be the most. I think I remember seeing it on TV, quite liking it, but just never really kind of got into the whole story of it. So I'd rewatch Return of the Jedi because it was the one that I kind of remember, and then went backwards with it.
Yeah, well, I'm similar to you with that in that respect. I think as a kid, that's the movie I remember. Out of the three, I think there are reasons for that. It isn't when they were released on TV.
It was probably the most fan appealing film. This one was always looked a bit dated, and it obviously is because it was and is cheap. You kind of develop a love for the first one as you get older, I think. Or had you been kind of had it come out when you'd first seen it, you'd have had it. But to look back at it, it wasn't the easiest watch.
It's
the
funny
most
that
enjoyable.
because I haven't really got that perspective, because I kind of saw A New Hope before anything. I was like, I can't remember how. I'm sure it must have been on TV like early doors, but I remember that we at least had a VHS. It wasn't an official VHS, but we had it off TV or something of A New Hope when I was like 2 or 3. And me and the lad across the road used to watch it all the time, and we were like, it was like, right, I'm Han, you're Luke, you know, and then you do the whole thing. So I was always, you know, I was instantly always drawn to Han Solo straight away. But like you say, Empire and Jedi, I hadn't see that much of. I went to see Empire at the cinema. I specifically remember that, but I don't specifically remember watching Jedi. I think, like you say, that's more of a thing that I'll maybe seen on TV or something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until years later that I kind of got the VHS and then was like watched them all back to back properly. And I was like, and I remember being more obsessed with Return of the Jedi. I think it felt like it was, even though it was a few years old, it felt like that was kind of new. Luke had a green lightsaber, you know, it was packed with space action and Ewoks and all that stuff. I think it was more appealing, wasn't it?
The Battle of Endor and all that, yeah.
To a kid,
yeah.
At least.
I mean, I remember the Christmas when I got all the Return of the Jedi toys. I think that's the sort of standout memory.
Yeah.
You know, with the old Chicken Walker and Millennium Falcon and all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I never had any Star Wars toys growing up at all. Because obviously, because it just didn't hit me. I had nothing. Some of my mates did, and I kind of thought, oh, these are cool, but never really saw the appeal of it. And now I think, Jesus Christ, those guys must be just retired, just selling their toys.
I know.
I've still got them all. Still got them all from that Christmas.
No, you can't part with them, can you? I've still got all my Turtles, all my Ninja Turtles, still got all them.
Yeah.
Still got all my Ghostbusters.
Yeah, nice one. Yeah. I think I've got them somewhere, the Ghostbusters, but yeah.
They were actually the Ghostbusters and the Turtle toys were actually the last toys that I got. I was just at that age where I was like, I can't quite get away with this. I was like 11 or 12 or something, and I was like, I specifically remember they were like the last ones I was like playing with them very privately.
Similar scenario.
I don't want them to know I've got toys, you know.
Yeah.
Which proves that we're obviously a bit older than you, Colin. But I'm
not James. When were you born? Then? When was are you then?
I was born in 77, so I am Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, 5 years on me.
I was the year after Paddy.
Yeah. So when you did obviously see it, what were you drawn to? Was it Vader you were drawn to? Or?
Yeah, the Empire villains naturally, and really, to be honest, at the point I got into it, they were starting to drip feed Episode 1 stuff. So I literally got well into the event, which was the prequels, and it was an event. It was a film, but the Phantom Menace, the build up to the Phantom Menace was just amazing.
Huge.
Yeah.
The whole, and it started like 97, and it really started to drop stuff early doors. And to be fair, Lucas, you kind of look back, Lucas really knew how to market it. The push the marketing through was just enormous everywhere. And that was the first film I got to see at the cinema, the Phantom Menace, and it just blew my mind. And I went to watch it 5 times.
Did you?
It was just awesome. And it still is, to be honest. People say what you want about it, but I mean, it was just ace at the cinema.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you there, Colin. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I loved it straight away. I don't remember the negative connotations folding in until a little bit later on, when you get a bit older and you take stock. But I was probably I don't know, 17, 18, I think, when Phantom Menace came out. I think it was, I seem to remember taking my first girlfriend or something. So I was probably, I maybe wasn't quite as self-conscious about it. I don't know, but I seem to remember seeing the same. I seem to remember when I watched Episode 2, I thought it was better than 1. But now I just think it's the worst Star Wars film. Well, one of the worst ones, but there's been some competition since then.
There's no social media back then, so you didn't pick it up, and all the reviews were kind of that it's actually all right. Most of the kind of most of the film mags give it a good review. You didn't really have the internet. All your mates kind of thought it was theirs. So you just didn't get into any negative vibes from it at all.
Yeah, the
main. If it had been these, if internet would have been around like it is now back then there might have been a backlash. But
yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can choose to read it and choose not to. I mean, you can just enjoy it. And that's what kind of did most films in the 90s. I kind of look back. I mean, I'm obviously into most films, but I was always into big summer blockbusters. So the year before Phantom Menace was Godzilla, which everyone panned, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, same, yeah, with a Giaccino soundtrack. That went with it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it was crap but good. But it was that big summer blockbuster film.
Yeah,
I used to love it. So the year before that was Men in Black, Jurassic Park, Lost World. Then it was Independence Day the year before that. So yeah, I mean, I just loved all them big summer films. And I didn't really bother about reviews. Just enjoyed them for the spectacle and
what they were. Yeah,
they're just fun films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's all a bit too political these days, isn't it? Movies, it's. Yeah, but let's not get into that.
No.
Let's not go there. Yeah, so no, absolutely. I mean, the 90s was a great kind of event period for movies. I mean, admittedly, I did read reviews and stuff. I remember, like, because my mum and dad would get the Daily Mail, and there was always a big kind of film review guy in there on a Friday, so I would kind of read his stuff. And if he slated the latest Harrison Ford film, then I would usually trash the newspaper or whatever. And then and I used to get Empire and Premiere on a monthly basis, so I was kind of knee deep in the reading up on things, because that was the only, like you say, there was no internet, and there was we didn't have the DVDs yet, so there weren't really the making of documentaries. You would have to dig out magazines or try and find a book of some kind to look up all the juicy information or press kits.
Cinefax. Was it Cinefax that was the
Cinefax?
Yeah, that was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a good magazine. So that was kind of where you got your information. I know somebody posted something I think it was this morning on Facebook about a magazine that was actually about the internet when the internet came out, and it was like, only in the 90s did you need a magazine to recommend to you the good websites to look on. So yeah, times have certainly changed. But so from then the prequel, I mean, was episode 1 your favorite of the prequels then, or did you get to Sith then in the end? Or
I think Sith swung it. So Sith was a better film, but the Phantom Menace was just more nostalgic.
Yeah,
because it was always that first film you saw, and it was just ace. Yeah, I mean, I kind of Attack of the Clones, you can kind of take it or leave. Wasn't that bothered about it. Just always felt like filler. And then
Pants.
Revenge of the Sith was obviously the one you wanted to see. So I kind of loved all those films, and went to Disneyland in 2005. Yeah, when Revenge of the Sith came out, I was at Disneyland, and it was bonkers. Everywhere was Star Wars. That was cool. And then obviously Indy drops.
Yeah.
A couple of years later, so back into Indy then.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I certainly remember my excitement being at bloody fever pitch. It was like, I've been waiting 19 years for this. I remember that first Indy trailer drops, and even now, I still go back and watch the trailer for Crystal Skull.
It was awesome. Yeah,
it was just brilliant. You're a teacher part-time. I was like, yes, this is going to be awesome. And obviously, there was, some disappointments to it, but I always say that the opening 20 minutes of that movie were worth a 19-year wait. It was just epic, all the swinging through Area 51 and all that. I thought it was mega.
Oh, yeah.
So, so what was the transit? So you've done the prequels, been to Disneyland, obviously. We got back into the indie bug, caught the indie bug.
Yeah.
Was indie the genesis of the costume thing, or?
Yeah. After Crystal Skull came out, I just decided I wanted just to do the indie costume, but the Raiders costume, the original indie costume.
Yeah.
So that, and it just, to be honest, that came just really by accident. That literally came from a work thing. Oh, let's do a fancy dress night out. And I was going, oh yeah, let's do that. And then we'll just do something. Kind of thought, I'll tell you what, we're gonna make a bit of an effort. So if we want to make a bit of an effort, you could do indie then on a reasonable budget, 150 quid for the gear, or for a reasonable kind of look. So yeah, 150 quid. Yeah, I'll say you could get more stuff, like I said, for that price. So I did that, and then thought, I'll tell you what, this is cool. Let's do a bit of research. So on websites, found Indie Gear. Yeah. Oh, good God, that website's responsible for a lot of expenditure.
a lot of financial crisis.
Really wish I had. Well, as cool as that website was, I really kind of wish I hadn't found it, because it obviously would have been minted. But the it was a brilliant website. I got to know a lot of those guys, and then
fantastic.
Yeah, it took me a couple of years then to get up to a standard which I thought was cool, and then found the UK Garrison off the back of that. Then we just really with it. Well, I've got this costume and it's cool, and you can't wear it to fancy dress parties, so you want to do something better with it.
Yeah.
Bit of a searching on the internet, see what clubs are around, and found the UK Garrison, and got in contact with those guys. Said I've got this costume and it was of a reasonable standard. A few recommendations from them to kind of get it up to a higher standard without breaking the budget or going too far.
So what were the recommendations?
Just really to improve my look, because at the time I'm bald now, but I had a really bald head and a goatee beard, and didn't really kind of think too much about the look. So I just kind of submitted it with the goatee and thought, that's cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really the right look. There wasn't really. I hadn't weathered the costume at that point, so it looked a bit too clean. Nothing major that needed doing, because I'd already had the Westie jacket. And I think my first hat was an Akubra. I don't remember Akubra, the kind of Australian firm.
They were good.
They had kind of what's called, they had the Fed 4, which was the original kind of like budget indie hat, which was about 80 quid or something. And then the Westie jackets you could pick up for a reasonable price second hand. Yeah. So I had that and that. So yeah, just a couple of bits and pieces to improve the weapons and stuff, and then it was cleared with those guys.
Yeah, you got lucky with your gun. I was being quite jealous of your gun. Yeah.
Really? But that came a few years later. That because that was expensive. I would have gun, really expensive.
Yeah. No, as expensive as the boots. They're mental.
Yeah, the cool ball. It was pretty devastating. It's pretty devastating having to wreck them.
Yeah, this was my problem. You see, this is where Colin would always give me grief about these kind of things, Matt, because it's like you spend all this money to get the indie costume together, and then they want you to weather it, and I'm like,
So
the guy who made my hat, I don't know. He's not even making the hats anymore. I'm not sure I really want to,
what do you do to weather them? What's the
process? On it.
There's different things you can do. I mean, it depends how far you want to go. And it depends what film you're on. Like Pads, you do Last Crusade, so you can get away with not weathering it so much. It's quite clean cut in that film.
Yeah. But
if you want to do Raiders, and you want to go for like I liked the desert chase scenes, is costumes knackered. So you got to want
the dust.
And that's the thing. It all depends on what you want to go for. You can go for the beginning where it's slow. I mean, the more research you do, the more you see that the hats change and the jackets change slightly, and if they were different outfits for different on-shoot locations or studio, they're all different gear. Not the same gear, but it's all different stages of weathering and sun damage and all that kind of stuff. So it changes slightly as you look at it through the film.
Yeah, it's funny because the hat was relatively consistent in Raiders, but in Temple of Doom, there's like 3 different ones. It just keeps changing through the film, doesn't it? It's like
different makers, completely different makers. Yeah. So again, studio versus on location. So the studio stuff, they sat in the plane. Yeah, completely different hats. The one they wore out on the bridge.
Right.
So they just kind of thought
the hat in India I thought was always the most iconic. That kind of has got a pretty cool shape, particularly in the shots from below. You know, I just thought
cool.
In Temple of Doom, I always thought that one looked great.
Yeah, they had a few different. Then you got Last Crusade, which, my opinion, is my least favorite indie.
I know that's your least favorite hat. Yeah.
Because I just don't like the tie. I don't like the hat's a bit shorter.
It's quite it's smaller. I mean, I kind of lean on the Last Crusade, but my hat is actually Crystal Skull because it was made. It was made by the guy who made the hats for Crystal Skull. It became a kind of it became a hat maker for fans anyway. So he did do a really good Raiders hat. And there's another guy taken over from Steve Delt now, isn't there? I can't.
John Penman.
Yeah, Penman's taken over now, and he makes really good hats. And he's made hats for some names as well, hasn't he? For some celebrities and stuff.
Yeah.
He's done a Dick Tracy hat that I really want to get as well at some point. So you've joined the Garrison, and was it kind of like UK Real Heroes or something? Is this like an offshoot of the Garrison that you started doing the
stuff? There is. There's the UK Garrison. The way it's made up is there's a UK Garrison, which is the Imperial Star Wars guys. So anything really, the main kind of body of the UK Garrison is Star Wars villains. So anything from Vader to different types of troopers is kind of the most popular. And then there's another section kind of within it called Rebel Command, which covers all the good guys. And then you've got Real Icons, which is for anything else that's not Star Wars. So there's Batman, superheroes, and I do Captain America through those guys as well. I mean, it's the same club. It's all about the same club. It just gives you the option to do something different, because most people who like costuming tend to like more than just Star Wars, which is hard to believe from some of the guys that I know. But you can like other films. So that's you tend to have something else that you like in addition to Star Wars. So it gives you another angle.
I mean, it's funny because it says there's a trap we'd fall into. It's like we obviously it's a Star Wars show. We talk about Star Wars, but we do occasionally veer off onto other topics and other films, and it's always been like, but that's not about Star Wars. So
bring it back.
So much so that kind of Matt has started a new podcast, which at some point,
it's not really launched properly yet, but
no, it's kind of Matt's made a couple of videos and done some stuff on it, and it's a matter of us getting together and doing actually doing a live video on that where we can just talk about anything.
I've got the
critical nerd theory.
Critical nerd theory. It's called.
You can't be in the UKG without obviously the.
Yes. There we go.
Oh, superb.
Lovely. So tell us about the getting the Stormtrooper costume together, or sort of joining their Star Wars ranks, as it were. Morphing from
Indie got Indie and did a couple of events as Indie, and then thought, to be honest, it's all Star Wars, and the most talk was Star Wars, and just to see. I mean, the first time I did an event and saw 2 or 3 of the guys to the Stormtroopers, I just thought that's just awesome. and to be honest, you can look at it as a fan as well. All the stuff in the Garrison, all the costumes. You kind of looking at these guys thinking, oh my god, they're just as good as the films. Most people look just like they stepped off screen. It's fantastic. Yeah. So as a fan of films, you just kind of stood sometimes in awe, thinking, this is awesome. And even for the public to see it, it's cool. But even for you, sometimes in costume, it's just equally as cool, if not more. So once I'd seen a couple of troopers, that was it. I thought I need to have one of them. And then at the time, I kind of think, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do second, because you can go second hand. And then, I mean, I need to have endless budget. So got a second-hand one for about 500 quid. That was cool. That served me well for a couple of years, and then thought I'll upgrade when I can. And I think I upgraded it about 2017. So I had it. I had it probably about 5-6 years. That old one.
And you got proper. You went proper fully fitted at that point, though, with the new one, didn't you? It was like
well, the thing is that it helped because I lost a couple of stone. So I went on because I was getting a bit podgy. You
You had a leg off, didn't you? That was it.
Yeah.
To lose a couple of
yeah,
steps.
I thought, to be honest, well, a couple of things. I wanted to go. I wanted to do indie to true size, so I wanted to get to forward size.
Yeah.
So I could get that really accurate. So I went down to more or less his size for Raiders, and then that, on the back of the Stormtrooper, you get really cool size out of that. Then,
yeah,
so it's really trim, because what you really want on them suits is no black in between. You want it as much white as possible. So so no kind of, so it looks as seamless as you can. So that was cool.
You don't want to look as if Porkins has stolen a Stormtrooper costume.
No,
there's a scene we never saw in A New Hope, actually. So
the suit's ace. I mean, and even now, it's like you put that suit on. I don't know if you've ever worn one.
Yes, I did. Well, did I ever tell you this story? How I ended up wearing one. It unfortunately, it was an ill-fitting one, but both of us know Martin, who done some cons and stuff like that. So what it was, he had a costume, and my partner's best friend, her cousin committed suicide, right? And he was a huge, it was terrible. And he was only, 19, 20, 21, something like that. So he was always a big Star Wars fan. And when it came time for the funeral, I think I spoke to you about it at the time. It was like, it was all a bit last minute, but the funeral was happening, and he was going to be buried with his lightsaber, and he was a very eco-friendly guy, so he was going to be buried in a cardboard coffin and that. So they put him in this cardboard coffin and covered it in Star Wars posters. It was like completely plastered in Star Wars posters. And Gina's mate was Lucy was asking me about it, like, what's the possibility of getting a character there or whatever? And I was like, well, I'm in touch with some of the guys in the groups. So maybe we can get, we can have a line of the guys as he comes in and stuff like that. And as it turns out, I think it was, and you can attest to this, that, unless it's a weekend thing, you need to plan well ahead so that you can take time off work or organize it so that, there's a few of the guys who are available at that one time. Yeah, and I think it was like a during the week, during the day type of thing. So, so I was just like, I said to her, well, okay, I'll do it. So, Martin, who was working with at the time I think it was on the DaleCon thing. He said, oh, you can try it on. So I went up to his unit and tried it on for like 5 minutes, and it kind of fitted okay. Obviously, it wasn't fitted to me. It kind of fitted okay, but it was like the calf, the calf pieces, like it's one of the few parts where there's no fat on my calves. I've just got like big muscles on, like footballers' legs. Yeah. Even though I can't play football for shit, So, and I just couldn't, like, the back wouldn't close on them. So it was basically we with the exception of that, we had to tape them up. The rest of it was kind of okay. So
that's like accurate, that though. To be honest, just taping them up. That's how I did it in film.
With a gaffer tape.
You're always falling apart. So, but the most surreal thing about it was that obviously I'd had it on for 5 minutes, so I'd not had the experience of being in the costume. So we get to the funeral with the stuff, and it's at it was at it was one of the crematoriums. I forget which one. So I've zipped into the toilet, and Jeannie's helped me put all the stuff on, and then I'm ready, and they're like, right, okay, and he's coming in. So then they got me to lead him into, into the room, and they put his coffin up the top. And then I basically was like, well, I'm gonna have to guard it through the whole thing. So I'm stood in front of the coffin for the whole time. And I remember I kind of done about 15, 20 minutes as things are going on. And it was at that point, like the 20-minute mark, where I went, fuck. It's just like, I've probably got another 40 minutes in here, and I don't really get claustrophobic, but I had that moment where it was like, oh, calm down, man, calm down. It's cool. You're going to be coming out of the costume soon. Like, it's all right. You just have to get that mental thing where you're like, it's fine, but you're going to be stuck in this for a while. So just get used to it. So I remember there being a brief period of panic, but it was getting used to that. But the weirdest thing was we get to a point and they're discussing things. It was quite a celebratory, funeral, and they're discussing things and, some great speeches by people. And they started mentioning this thing about how some family event where he'd insisted to get up and dance to Sex Bomb by Tom Jones or whatever it was. So they mentioned this story and everyone's laughing and stuff. And next minute they went, and we're going to play it. So they put fucking Sex Bomb on, right?
And you had to dance.
And his aunties and that, literally get out of the aisle and start dancing to Sex Bomb in the middle of this funeral. So I'm like, well, can't beat him, join him. So there's me dressed as a stormtrooper dancing to Sex Bomb.
That's a funeral.
Next to this guy's coffin.
Hey, I tell you what,
brilliant.
Yeah,
you can't get more British than that.
Oh, really. It was fantastic.
That's what funerals should be like, though, isn't it? It should be somber affairs. It should be parties.
Damn right. Right. It was it was fabulous. So that's really my one experience of costuming.
I've never worn one personally, but I'd love to.
It's interesting what you said there, Pads. I mean, genuinely, you need to practice wearing it. I mean, whenever we do inductions for lads that kind of start up doing it kind of properly, it always is the recommendation. Look, you've got to wear the helmet for a certain amount of time. You've got to wear just part of it, wear just the top half, and try and do things in the house. Try and move around, because if you're in that for a couple of hours and you're inexperienced, you're going to know about it.
Yeah.
Just through that kind of that panic can set in, that claustrophobic.
Absolutely.
And you given the fact you've got no vision, your vision's green. It's weird. We're going to try the helmets on. The actual vision's green.
Yeah.
And
you're suddenly aware of your breath inside it and all that stuff.
Yeah, you've got to be careful with it, really. But the suit itself, you just kind of get used to wearing it, and you get used to what limitations you've got. So you can kind of get your arms here, and you can kind of like robotic, really.
Yeah.
It's difficult because you've got no real peripheral vision below the waist.
No.
Unless you kind of bend right over.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But you get used to wearing it.
Out of all the
once you practiced it and once you get used to wearing it and you get used to the walk and the way you move, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Beyond awesome. It's just the best thing ever. So yeah.
When I moved back to the UK, I really wanted to try and get hold of a suit, but it wasn't to be so far anyway. But I always thought a shore trooper from Rogue One might be one of the most comfortable trooper outfits you could have, because the legs are quite free, aren't they?
Yeah, the scout troop, the biker.
Oh, the biker as well, yeah.
One, yeah. If you can get past the kind of camel toe nappy thing that you wear around, yeah. But they've fixed that now. So I think the guys at RS do a cool one. They've kind of fixed that. Yeah, that bunching as it is with the nappy that goes around the waist. But that's cool. I mean, the shores. I mean, the thing is, there's loads of obviously different variations you can do, but honestly, you can't beat that classic original
classic Stormtrooper.
Nothing better than it.
True,
because it's interesting. Because in the public's eye, that's the one that they really know. That's the iconic one. So whatever you do, whatever variation you do, most people just think you're a Stormtrooper.
True.
Different versions of it. I mean, if you're a fanboy, you obviously know the difference, but most people just recognise the original Trooper. When you're doing public events, there's different events, different costumes. So if you want to do something public that's going to be like a shopping centre, or where you're going to get families and kids, you want to do the iconic characters, the ones that everyone knows and loves. You want to do kind of Comic Cons or more kind of specialist fan events. That's when you kind of roll out the variations. I mean, they all go down well. I mean, there's no rules as to what you can wear on what event. And most people just request Star Wars characters if it's a Garrison event.
Yeah.
You can do whatever, really.
Yeah.
You're
always safe. Sorry, Paddy, go on.
I was going to say you did do a costume though, Matt, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Just before we came on air, we were talking about when I lived in New Zealand and we did a charity event over there. And I never had a costume. And my wife said to me, "Why don't you get something for the actual events?" And I'm thinking, well, what? This is a few months before the event was taking place, and
can I do on a budget?
Well, what could I get? It's got to be on a budget, yeah. You know, flicking through the internet and looking at all these like foam, you know, costumes you can get and stuff, and it's like, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that. But then I thought that one of the cheapest options I could get, which looks fairly authentic, was
He-Man.
an officer. He-Man, yeah.
Well, your underpants, that's cheap, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Captain Underpants. Just wear me underpants and a red cape. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
No, an Imperial officer, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of bought that in, you know, bit by bit as the weeks went by, and it's not too bad of a costume. It's not 100% authentic, movie accurate or anything, but it looks the part, you know. And
that's a decent costume, that.
Yeah. So I did do a couple of charity events after the main one with this group in New Zealand, where I show up with a few stormtroopers and a Darth Vader, you know.
Bossing about. Yeah. Well, I'm sure when things open up, Colin and the lads can point in the right direction of screen accurating up that thing and
yeah,
getting back out there. I mean, again, it's something I've always wanted to do. Like I say, I've had that one experience of wearing the Stormtrooper costume, but I'd love to do it for real. But my main thing is I'd just like to do, you know, I know, Bespin Han Solo or something like that would be the ultimate one for me. That's my favorite Han Solo costume. But well, let's get on, and being as you brought up events anyway, Colin, let's get on and talk about events. But before we do that, let's just take a little advert break. We'll be back in a second. All right, yeah. So if you like your craft beer, then get onto the Donkey Stone app and type in CSW 2021 at checkout, and you will get 10% off your first order. Incidentally, on the Friday the 7th of April, I'll also be doing Friday the 9th of April, I'll be doing a little podcast from Donkey Stone with some guests and doing a little taste along with some beers and stuff like that. Check that out on their website, and you can buy a pack of 6 beers to drink along with us and have a bit of a laugh. So coming back to you, Colin, on Matt's going to share some stuff here, I think.
Oh, I was going to show this picture. That
was
in New Zealand.
Here we go. All right.
No, that's cool.
There you go.
Yeah, that was
the right stance and everything. Nailed it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I like it with the shades.
Except for the glasses. Bad boys. What are you going to
do? In fact, while we're sharing, have you got another one there, Matt, or is that it? Do you want me to pull it out?
There was a couple more. This is I pulled off Facebook. These kind of things here. Like this was.
Oh yeah, these are from the event. Yeah.
These are just from the event there. You know.
Lovely.
It's cool, that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I've actually got some from Colin, which we're going to show in a few minutes. But there we go. Okay, gone. So so in terms of events, Colin, let's talk about your stuff. So obviously you've done, and we've not really covered this angle, but what people don't understand about from the costuming thing is, obviously it's voluntary, but you know, is it 100% of the time, 99% of the time it's for charity? I mean, how does that work?
The way the garrison works and the way events are done through the garrison is that the majority of events are for charity. So we'll directly support a charity or a fundraising event. And we will just attend and help support that, whether it be to suggest for donations in exchange for photography, or just to help support and give some profile to a kind of a fundraising event. If it's a corporate event and they want Star Wars and it's subject to agreement, obviously, with Disney and Lucasfilm, and those companies can make a charitable donation to our own charity pot, and that's distributed throughout a number of charities in the country, which are pre-decided at the beginning of each year. So we select a number of charities to support at the beginning of each year, and then we'll distribute whatever funds that are collected from those events to them at various stages. So, yeah, I mean, everything we do, none of the guys get paid. It's all volunteer work. None of them receive any expenses for what they do. It's all, you literally, you
for the fun of it.
It's an expensive hobby, really. You fund your own costume, which can cost thousands if you're doing Vader and Boba Fett and some of those guys. So it's a big investment, but a lot of enjoyment. But I mean, comparable. Like, so if you're a football season ticket holder and you're going watching week in, week out, you're going to be racking up the cost there. So it's incomparable to other hobbies. It's not that expensive. That costume could do you 5-10 years after.
Being a fan of anything can be expensive.
The charity work. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, the going back to the charity point, yeah, it is for charity, and to be honest, that's really what we pride ourselves doing. But what I really like is the hospice visits and the times we can really make a difference. So it's great. Fundraising events are brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but those opportunities you can go on to put a smile on a kid's face that's struggling, or whether it be through illness or personal circumstances, it is just amazing. Really, quite heartbreaking sometimes, but truly fulfilling.
Oh yeah.
So we've done. We obviously, Darien House is a charity very close to my heart, given the fact that I'm one of their ambassadors, and we do a lot of work locally with them, which is a Darien House, the children's hospice based in Chorley, which provide care and support to children and young adults battling life-limiting illnesses. They do a lot of great work to support the families, and do a lot of fundraising in the local community. So we tend to, pre-COVID, obviously, we did a lot of work with them, visit the hospice, see the kids, see the sibling kids, because they do a lot of work with the families as well, trying to support the brothers and sisters of those kids that are really struggling. Yeah. So we do a lot of work with them, try and give those kids a bit of a lift, and support with their wider fundraising events. So we do a lot of work with them. Personally, obviously, other work with the garrison that I do kind of highlights are the Make-A-Wish events. So Make-A-Wish, obviously, countrywide known charity that do organise kind of events, special events for kids who are battling various horrible illnesses. Yeah. And we try and we've done things like superhero boot camps for kids who want to meet Captain America and Marvel superheroes and things, and take them around various kind of locations in London, giving them all special days. We've done. There's a place, a couple of places in London where they do that. One of them's like a park or indoor kind of industrial gym, which is kind of set out like they do like free runners and stuff, practice there and things. And weird. It's just basically this really weird industrial gym where you lift tires and stuff and all that kind of stuff. But it looks like a superhero boot camp. Inside, it's really weird industrial kind of like steel beams everywhere and stuff. It just looks the part. Yeah. So we've done a couple of things with kids there, and there's and they've got like one of the places which is different location. There's like an underground paintballing, and that looks like it's kind of set. And it's looked like it's set in this really weird apocalyptic world. Really bizarre inside, really dark and dingy, to be honest. But if you put a few superheroes in them with a bit of lighting, it looks really cool. So we've done some stuff there as well. Kind of putting the kids through the training paces and like shooting guns and stuff, and not real guns, obviously, but the laser tag and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's some of the Make-A-Wish stuff we've done. That's brilliant as well. But yeah, there's a lot of other events that support charities and fundraising. Schools and social kind of community events. Yeah, it's weird talking about it. I really kind of just harks back to, we haven't done this now for 12 months. It's something I kind of did very regularly, and it's really weird. And there's a lot of people unfortunately missed out due to it.
Yeah, 100%.
Fingers crossed.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, things will get back to normal.
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the things as well that we were kind of both exposed to in terms of, I don't know if it was the first charity event you ever went to, but I think in terms of like exposure to autographs and fan events, I think, you know, Star Wars Fan Fun Day was probably the first thing that I'd ever been to, and then and obviously that's all for charity, and we know Neil does good work that's there. How did you go from then doing the Garrison stuff and to becoming involved with Daring House and then doing Stars in Cars, and how did that happen?
Well, the Garrison obviously support a number of local charities anyway, and what I ended up becoming involved in kind of organising kind of some of the local events. So there's different. I mean, as well as being a kind of a costumer within the organisation, you can volunteer to do various roles. So I actually put myself forward to be kind of a local event organiser, which allowed me to get in contact with local charities and just try and promote the club and what we do. Try and put our name out there to give us some new events to do locally and kind of raise our profile. So I got in contact with a lot of local charities, and we've done things, and we started to introduce some new events through that. But Daring House kind of came back through starting Stars and Cars. That's where it really kind of started in terms of supporting Daring House on a larger scale financially, which is separate from the Garrison, but the Garrison kind of were involved ultimately in the events. Stars and Cars, which started in 2014, small scale, and then kind of grown to be quite a large event now, nationwide kind of popularity.
Yeah, so I think I was at the. I can't remember if I was at the first one or the second one. I think it might have been the second one. Anyway, go on, Matt. Yeah, it was the second one. Yeah, go on, Matt.
I was going to say, can you describe what Stars and Cars is?
Stars and Cars is now quite the largest movie TV show in the country, and probably in Europe, if we're honest, given the amount of contact we've had from folks overseas who really want to get to know the event. I mean, this is showing some pictures here. I mean, it's grown to be something just really we never really could have comprehended the size and popularity of what it's become. But it started off with 4 cars outside a shop in Chorley.
Right.
To be this indoor show now with 40 cars plus all kind of put on a show within a big kind of purpose indoor arena at Bolton there. So it's just become enormous, and the show has always been about kind of raising money for charity. We always do. It's always organised by us as a hobby. It'd be great to get paid. It's always great to get paid for things, but to be honest, the fulfilment you get from organising this event, because obviously being a massive fan of film, I'm also a massive fan of cars. So cars and film put together, this is just the perfect event to get involved in. Yeah, and just be able to see these cars up close is just amazing. So the first event again started in Chorley with one of my mates, Kevin, who had a toy shop in town, and he was looking to some ways to kind of promote his business, and we were looking at some ways to try and organise some local events. So we started this kind of promo event really for him, and kind of doubled as a charity event in the local town with a couple of cars. I think the first event was 2014, November 2014. We had a couple of Transformers cars, and we had Knight Rider in the 18 van. I think Pads, you were at the second one, which was right. July 2015, and we had the Trotters van and the Back to the Future DeLorean, and a couple of what was the other one? We had the Impaler from Supernatural, and something I can't remember the one we had actually.
What was his shop called? Films
and Figures. Yeah,
Films and Figures. That's right. Yeah.
It was cool. It was setting a little unit, and we just benefited because we're on this like little mini industrial park. So we had some space outside. So at weekends, the printers next door was shut, and we just had some space, and we organised these little charity events, and we did 2 or 3 at the shop, and then the event grew in popularity, and we took it to one of the local high schools, and we used their car park and indoor space. We had the sports hall, and then we had their outside car park, and that took it to about 15 cars. But it allowed us to be able to ticket the event, which is something that problem we had. Whilst doing the shop was brilliant, people could just naturally come down and have a free event. There was no obligation to make any donation whatsoever, and that kind of bothered me in some respects. That so many people just came down and just wanted free pictures and stuff, and you can't ask for anything. It's free. It's just on
can't monetize it for charity.
No, you can't. You just hope that people just obliged to make a donation, and a lot of people you can kind of watch and see how people behave, and a lot of people didn't. So we thought, well, one, we wanted to grow the event, but obviously we wanted to ticket it, so we could at least get a minimum donation for everyone. When we started, and we did one at school. It was really successful, but it rained quite heavily, which was a bit of a washout. Still went down quite well, but it limited what we could do on the cars. Whilst we were able to get kind of 15 brilliant cars, some of the kind of really high end stuff that I wanted to go kind of looking at Batmobiles and Bond cars and stuff, you really wanted something that was you could offer some more protection to these guys, because everyone who comes just basically came as volunteers. Very little expense was paid out to anyone in terms of attractions. So after we did the second one at the school, we did one. They did the school 2016 and 2017, and again it was growing in popularity. But I always, as much as I enjoyed it at the school, I always wanted to give it more show. It always has had more potential to be something bigger and better than just cars in a car park and costumers, which again, I'm not going to fault for what it was at the time. We were very proud of what we achieved and very proud of the money it raised. But I always kind of felt it could have been something bigger. So the next event, which was a couple of years later, so we left it a year, let it settle, built up some more contacts and sponsorship, and we took it to Bolton Arena and proposed it as an indoor show, which we did in 2019, which went from like I said, 15 cars and 1,500 people to 4,000 people and 30 plus cars, and that was just massive, just amazing, beyond anything wildest dreams I could have really possibly helped to organise. So that was organised by myself and Mick Croskery. Many people know
Mick, aka Batman.
Does a lot of work. Did a lot of work for charity, and now kind of works for Darien House as their fundraising manager. So the event itself opened doors for him in terms of both hobbies and employment, which all kind of came from Stars and Cars and a lot of the work involved in that. So Mick helps.
There he is.
So is that car drivable? Is that like does he drive it to the events? Is it
the
Batmobile?
We're looking at the Batmobile. There's Mick next to the Batmobile there.
My screen seems to have frozen, so I'm chatting away to you guys. I can't see the pictures.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just showing the picture of Mick with the Batmobile at Stars.
The Tumbler.
That's actually Steve Hurd, another guy.
Oh, is that Steve?
Another brilliant costumer. Does a lot of work with us locally and so helped out with the event.
Steve does a great Batman as well. A great Darth Vader as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So we the Tumbler came on the back of a truck. So there's a guy, brilliant guy lives down in London, Mark Perkins, who's got a company called Character Cars, and he builds a lot of his own vehicles. He's got I think he's got 4 vehicles. He's got the TV one, the 60s. He's got the 89. He's got the Tumbler, which he kind of built on top of a Toyota, believe it or not. And then I think he's just picked up the Batman versus Superman version as well. So that's over from the States. So it's the the cars come from a variety of sources. Most of them are fan built, that kind of from people that we've got to know.
Yeah.
And a number of them are the real deals, and or versions of the real deals. So a lot of the Bond cars, for example, are real cars. The real cars, the Aston Martins, the Lotuses, for example.
So the owners drive the cars to the event. Usually.
Yeah, depending on distance. Most people drive. The only thing that from the 2019 one, the only things that couldn't physically drive themselves there were Ecto 1 and the Tumbler and the DB5 came on a transporter. So Mark came up from London. So anything that comes a real distance.
Is that because Ecto 1 just wouldn't make the distance, or it's drivable but not over those kind of distances?
It's drivable, but yeah, just it's I think 60-year-old car. So it's just, you never know it's going to get there. So John, who owned the car at the time, brought it on the back of a trailer.
Yeah.
The Batmobile was a cool one. The guy who brought the 60s Batmobile, brilliant guy, got in contact with us, and this is kind of when this kind of explains where the event kind of came from. As it grew in popularity, people started contacting us. So whilst I started off doing loads and loads of research, trying to find these cars and build up relationships with people, because what I was very kind of conscious of was the fact that we were contacting people who didn't know us, who had these amazing cars, and we wanted to kind of build up really like kind of legitimate networking, just so they could build up trust. They would help us, and we could kind of work with them. But I wanted it to be kind of obviously legit. So we wanted these guys to be able to work with us, and the relationships that we built up with them was really important, and a really important part of what we do. This guy got in contact with us one day, and he said, I've seen some of your things, and I've heard some things from people kind of in the industry. And he goes, I've got one of the Batmobiles from the 60s TV show, not one of the actual ones, but a perfect found replica.
Yeah.
And he had it shipped over from the States. And he was also a classic car collector. He had a number of other cars. He'd retired and done very well for himself, but he had this 60s Batmobile. And he said, all I use it for is charity events. So I do a lot of. He was based in South Manchester, and he got in contact with us and said, "Look, I'd like to bring it to the event." And we're like, "Well, we'd love to have it because it's one of those real iconic cars. No matter, it's not my favorite Batmobile, but it's the one that most people know." Yeah. So
my second favorite Batmobile.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's incredible things to see. But when we were setting up on the Saturday, Roger, the guy who brought it, I never actually met him. I'd spoke to him on the phone a few times, and I emailed him back and forward, and we built up this kind of networking relationship. And he whilst we were setting up at the arena on the Saturday, he turns up in this big Range Rover with this massive trailer on the back, and he rolls this thing out the back. Oh, it was just amazing. But he literally parked it in the arena, just took me the keys and said, "There it is. I'll be back tomorrow night to collect it."
Really?
Yeah,
literally with it
like that. He just said, "Here's the keys. Just if you need to move it, you just showed me that you've got to pump it from below the front tire." I said, "There's no way I'm moving this. There's no way, no way." Once the building burns down, but he literally just dropped it off with us, and then kind of came back on the Sunday after the event and put it back in his trailer. That was just bonkers, but it just
amazing.
It was a great.
He didn't say, "If you need me, the phone's in the car. There's a big red phone in the middle of the."
Yeah, that was it. I mean, it was brilliant. I mean, and to me, again, all the guys that came to that event were really accommodating. They really allowed people to, because what we wanted was for people to have that experience, to be able to get close to the cars. We wanted to be able to supervise, but obviously people be adults about it, as long as you don't kind of arse skid across the General Lee's bonnet, which I think a few people wanted to, but as long as you kind of behave, we wanted to be offer that kind of experience, and we had no real problems other than the odd. You're always going to get the odd kid being a pain, but I mean, we were able to offer people real up close pictures next to the Batmobiles, the DB5, some of the other Bond cars. We had another guy, Steve. Another fantastic guy who brought us the the Vanquish, which was from Die Another Day, which was, most people think is a terrible film. I didn't mind it too much, but the car that's in it, that Aston Martin Vanquish, was just awesome.
The invisible one.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a beautiful, beautiful car, and he had basically the same model, and he's a very he's a very keen Aston Martin enthusiast. He's got 3 Aston Martins. Oh, again, another guy done very well for himself. He does a lot of work to kind of help charities. So he had the basically the same model, and we got in contact with him through, again, official channels. I went via a lot of the owners clubs to get in contact with these guys. So I went via Aston Martin Owners Club, through the kind of network of guys nationally, and then kind of again worked with the guys locally to understand what we could find and what we could work with, and what we could find that was out there that was close to any of the ones that were actually in the Bond films. And yeah, Steve piped up and said, "Well, I've got this car from that looks like the one from Die Another Day," and he didn't even consider it in light of the Bond film at the time. Only when I kind of spoke to him a few times and we kind of looked at how we were going to set it up, he was like, "Oh my god, it actually is exactly the same as the one in the film." And I was like, yeah it's exactly the same. We were getting really excited, and he even went and bought the same number plates from the ones in the film and kind of set that up on the day. But again, it was just brilliant letting people kind of go near it. I mean, if you owned a £100,000 car and you bring it to an event which was just asking you to do us a favour, you could be a little bit nervous about how the way that worked out. But it's
people love to show them off, though.
Yeah, it was that thing. These guys do car shows. They want to do car shows, and I think many of them never done an indoor show, so the opportunity to do something different. And we'd set up lighting rigs inside, and one of the guys who does a lot of work with Derry House just did a brilliant job of coming down. He put little spotlights underneath the cars, and we had the soundtrack of the films kind of play on speakers behind it. It was just brilliant. Again, trying to offer that really kind of show, to do something a little bit different. It's just a massive shame because we had such an awesome show planned for 2020, and we were just literally 2 weeks before we got the chop.
Which
was a massive bit of pill to swallow. We'd set up Chicken Bang Bang. We had
out with that one.
Yeah. But we found some really. I mean, those guys obviously still out there. We're waiting for obviously next time we can do something. But we're reluctant to organise anything now until we get.
Yeah, that's understandable. You need a bit of certainty, don't you?
But coming back around,
we'd rearrange 2020 for 2021 on the hope that it would all been sorted, and it hadn't. So, but to be honest, really massive thank you to the majority of people who bought tickets for 2020 have kind of retained those tickets and kept us from going bankrupt by having to pay everyone back, because we'd already spent.
Actually,
you start from zero every time, don't you? Because it all goes to charity.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered taking the cars on like a road show? Like the reason I ask is, when I was younger, my dad was into old military vehicles, from the like classic vehicles, whether it's military or commercial. And they used to do and you might have heard of it, called a Transpennine Run, and it'd be from Manchester to Harrogate. So they'd all meet in Manchester for a bit of a morning show, and then they'd hit the road, and they'd end up in Harrogate for another show, same day, following day. So I've done it a few times. Would that work with something? Have you ever thought about that? Or
we did. I mean, when we did the 2 events at the school in 2016 and 2017, we finished each event with what we called it the rollout, which is nicking it from Transformers.
Yeah.
But we took 10 cars round the town. So Chorley's where we live, and we literally set off at the end and just did a bit of a loop of the town. It was a bit of a parade. So we took Optimus Prime, the Transformers, Ecto-1, I think at the time, the DeLorean, 18 van. So that was cool. We did that.
Yeah.
Just as a bit of a fanfare conclusion to the event, and that was brilliant. Really well received. We did it obviously without council approval. We didn't do it as a parade as such. We just took them around.
Bit of a convoy.
And we did the same kind of from a smaller scale from the arena. The problem we have now is that most of the vehicles that come, literally, they're in the arena. Once they're in, because obviously organising, setting everything up. So, but we still plan to do something. What we usually do is on the run up to the events is we kind of do competitions and things and offer, if you make a special donation. So I think someone threw in 50 quid if you could have a ride in Optimus Prime, and that's something we consider. The same for what we have planned, obviously, for the Batmobile, because the Mark, who's got the 89 Batmobile, he was going to bring that 2020 show and still will whenever we can organise it. But the guy who heads up the UK Garrison, who's kind of like the commanding officer at the moment, and a guy called Gary Hales, he does a really brilliant 89 Batman.
Oh, I've seen that.
He's absolutely awesome version of Matt.
I'd love to do that costume.
And he actually drives the 89 Batmobile. He's actually licensed to drive it. So he does a lot. He does a lot of the work. He does a lot of the stuff with Mark down in London. Again, a lot of stuff with Make-A-Wish. They both between do a lot of charity work. But he actually does the Lord Mayor's parade on New Year's Day, driving the 89 through London. And he was going to do that for us at Stars and Cars as well. So he'd take some kid out for a ride in the Batmobile as Batman. After me, obviously. And several other friends, obviously.
Yeah. Can I join the queue?
I just think, I love that first Batman film, but can you imagine actually going out for a ride with Batman in the 89 Batmobile? Oh my God. Yeah. It's that kind of stuff. I mean, they get the one of the lads who was going to come, who's got literally built himself a screen accurate version of the Lotus S1 from the Spy Who Loved Me, that white Lotus from that book, which was just again awesome. He was saying like he'd come down on the Saturday and take some kids out for a ride and stuff. So there's quite a lot of people willing to do stuff that help us kind of boost charity, or we can do it as competitions and things. But where the arena's based, it's just like obviously in a big retail park, so we've got space to do that.
Yeah.
Mark, who's got the Batmobile, also has a DB5. Yeah, I think he's actually got 2 DB5s. Yeah, minted, just ridiculously minted. These lucky and minted people. But he actually on the last event, he took me for a ride in it, kind of round the back of the retail unit, and then said, "Right, there's keys, drive it back." Oh my God. Yeah. that thing. Yeah, I drive a Ford Focus. This thing was like driving a tank. Honestly, the steering was so tough. He was like, "Yeah, put your foot down." I was like, "Put your foot down." And so there's this like dual carriageway, kind of as it takes you back round to where the arena is.
Yeah.
And but he's like, "Put your foot down, put your foot." I was like, "No, my God, I'm not driving this thing." I was like driving it 20 miles an hour. Blue steering wheel, like this. But, oh my God. He went, "Put your foot down, put your foot down." Jesus Christ, shit off a shovel. So fast. Got to roundabout, took it all the way around roundabout and parked it back up. It was like, just letting you know, this car costs £1 million.
Oh my Lord.
I was like, oh my God. So
Glad you didn't tell me that before you got
Exactly. He kept that small detail from me. But he just literally never met me and said, "There's the keys, drive that car back." Just brilliant guys. And these are the kind of the people that we kind of got involved in the event. All really willing to do stuff for charity, willing to kind of help us tick that, because again, we're all fans, help that tick that fanboy box. And that's what the event is all about, really. So what we're trying to do is get costumers and cars together. So people kind of say like, well, people kind of say like, for me, like when like events are all about guests, and I get it. People want to go and meet guests from films, but for me, the people that what we really want to create is that the Disney World effect. So when people go to Disney World, they want to meet Mickey Mouse. They don't care it's a guy in the costume, but they want to meet a cool, brilliant Mickey Mouse. As long as you can make that costume look as realistic as possible and give them experience. So if I'm a kid and I love Batman, the best thing I can ever expect to see is Batman with the car.
Yeah.
Now, if I've got a really good version of Batman, so like taking back to that picture of Steve as the Dark Knight just looks completely the part. If he stood there with a tumbler as a fan of Batman, and you can get a picture of that, what's better?
Exactly. Yeah,
you could say to me, or you could meet Christian Bale, and that'd be cool. But don't get me wrong, I'd love to meet Christian Bale, fantastic actor, and he's Batman. It'd be brilliant to meet him. But as a fan, going to an event, I'd actually prefer a picture with the Batman and the Batman car and the costumer.
Yeah,
because it's just more of a fun experience. So
in terms of the events, obviously, because you haven't been able to do it for years. So how did you get over the past year? Certainly during the first lockdown, you kind of went in the direction with what we're doing here. You know, people in different locations, but you actually brought some names on who came and talked to you on the show and stuff like that. Like and you managed to raise some money that way. So tell us about that.
Yeah,
and these are all on YouTube still, aren't they? They're on
something
YouTube.
that we kind of, obviously, given the fact we had all of our conventional methods of fundraising were just out the window. Mick and I devised this kind of live show. So we just tried to take that show and take it online and see what we could do with it. So we chatted to Mark and Gary about Batman for show, just talking about building the because Mark builds the Batmobile. So we wanted to try and make it a bit of an informative technical show in terms of cars.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a bit of a big again for fanboys. You could tick a few boxes and understand how the cars are built, where you get where the desire comes from to build a car, other than obviously the expense.
Yeah.
Just what it takes to go out and you can be a fan of something and go and do something, just a crazy project. So we try to kind of get under the teeth of those guys just to understand what it takes and what dedication and what it means to them to build something like this, and then kind of show it. So we spoke to Mark with the Batmobile, and we spoke to Gary about Batman costuming and stuff, and we had various guests about talking about their kind of vehicle builds. So there's a guy, Dan, who lives down south, who's got the Jurassic Park Jeep, but again built a very faithful recreation from the one of the film. We had Mike, who's got the DeLorean.
Yeah.
Built a just amazing replica of the DeLorean from the first Back to the Future film.
He's just built the train as well.
And he's just built the train.
Does he?
The time travel
Fantastic.
train. I just decided suddenly I'll just build the Back to the Future train. We want him though to really. For me, it's only really the train if he drives it off a very large bridge. But he's reluctant to do that one.
Or he can fly.
Yeah, the end of the next Stars and Cars events, we're gonna drive the train into Eastwood Ravine.
we kind of struck gold one of the weeks because we actually had his name really escapes me now, but we had Street Hawk.
Yeah.
Jesse Mack. So he actually what's his name? I can't believe I thought his name.
I remember him at the event as well. Jesus Christ, what's his name?
That's terrible.
I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'll find it. Rex Smith.
Rex. Oh yeah, Rex. Real sorry, Rex, if you're watching. There he isn't, but the the thing is, we had John. John is again one of another great friend that we kind of made from the show. Built a very faithful recreation of the Street Hawk bike.
Yeah, he's got Knight Rider too, hasn't he?
Sorry,
hasn't he? He's got Knight Rider too, isn't he? The same guy?
No, he's just a Street Hawk.
Who's got Knight Rider?
Knight Rider. There's a number of guys who got Knight Rider, but the guy who brought Knight Rider was a guy called Paul Jones to our show.
The one we know who works with Hasselhoff.
Oh, that's Steve. Steve sold it. Steve doesn't have it anymore. He sold it. Yeah, he's doing Herbie now, I think.
Fair enough.
But yeah, John built the Street Hawk bike, and I think at the time it was a bit of a tough project for him to do because there wasn't really a lot of reference to it, I think, out there. So he built this brilliant, really kind of screen accurate version, and in doing so, got to know Rex fairly well, and did a couple of events. I think he met him at a couple of events and told him about the project, and I think he did quite a bit of work with him to kind of help him build this kind of really faithful creation. And we wanted to speak to John about the bike, and also through that he got in contact with Rex and said, "Look, do you want to come on and have a chat to these guys about Street Hawk?" And and what we did it from the basis that John interviews him, because John's his friend, and he can ask him about the show. We can just
He's
kind
a
of throw in
street expert, yeah.
Yeah, and that was just brilliant. I mean, that was again beyond not something we could have considered to be realistic for us, just on a different level, really. And that helped us raise some money. But the real fundraising kind of success came from Steve Pemberton.
Yeah, this was amazing, wasn't it?
So Steve obviously is a well-known actor and does The League of Gentlemen and a number of other shows in the shows. Yeah, and Steve's kind of grew up in Chorley, so he's has an affiliation with the area, and in doing so, is an ambassador for Derry House as well. So he shares a mutual interest from the charity perspective, and he came on and did a quiz, and he donated a load of kind of merchandise from his kind of personal collection, which I think he raised about 18 grand altogether. Right. It's bonkers. I think what happened is he raised 11, and I got a contribution from work, because the company that I work for is an insurance company called Ecclesiastical, and they heavily involved in charity work, because they themselves are a charity. So it's an insurance company that's kind of owned by a charity, and they do a lot of work with charity. So each employee can benefit from matching of any money that they make. So that's up to a total of £5 a year. So it's quite a big chunk. So whenever we do Stars and Cars, I managed to get a contribution from work as well that kind of helps us raise that total.
Well, I mean, going back to that, in terms of the actual live events, I mean, you made insane amounts of money for Derry House from the actual Stars and Cars events, haven't you? I mean, what was the total for the 2019 one? Do you remember?
I think it was just shy of 27 grand.
Wow.
Which incredible. Is bonkers. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and that was just profit from the show. I mean, we tried to the approach we wanted. We never wanted to make the show expensive, so it was always meant to be really appealing for families. And the people were saying, I mean, even Mark, who bought the Batmobile, said you could charge 10 quid a picture with the Batmobile. People will pay it. If you're going to have a picture right next to the Batmobile with Batman, with that kind of, you could charge 10 quid. And I said, yeah, we could. But if you're charging 10 quid for that, and then you have to get in, and you've got to feed your kids, and you've got to, all these other things, the money starts to rack up. So we charged 2 quid for a picture with everything.
Brilliant.
And that literally, every person who came into the event bought a ticket. So that give us another, for every, literally give us another £5 grand. From doing that. Now, if we were to charge 10 quid, you might get 100 people that might do it, tops. Or you never know how it's going to work out. So we deliberately tried to make it as reasonably priced as possible, with the hope that people will be generous with their donations afterwards, and that worked really well. And gave us a really good feedback. So we wanted it again to be appealing for families, not just the fundraising is important, but we didn't want to be just about the money.
Yeah,
and you really want to give people that experience and kind of walk away really happy, knowing that they then, if they want to chuck in an extra tenner, brilliant. If they want to sit in one of the cars, which we kind of said to the guys, isn't kind of an exclusive opportunity. But if you're really going to want to kind of twist our arm and say, look, I really want to sit in this car, it's like a dream as a fanboy, then we could kind of come to an arrangement kind of there and then with what they'd be willing to pay. So
what you got?
That's what kind of helped us. So, it was really, really brilliant. I'm just can't wait to get back to doing another one.
I can't wait to come along to the next one you do. It sounds amazing. It really
very
does.
exciting. So,
I mean, I'm a big fan of all movie cars myself, and I'm trying to get in a wee collection of movie sort of car models. They're on the shelf downstairs in the lounge. So I've got 4 at the moment: Ghostbusters '89 Batmobile. What else have I got? The Beetle from
Bumblebee
2018. Which, if I was going to get a car to replicate, I think it would be the Bumblebee from from the 2018.
Yeah, it's a cool car. I like it as a
Transformers.
yellow as well. So speaking of other charity events, Colin, you've got something else coming up. So I know you. Hopefully, we can get people to support you on this one.
Yeah, we
tell
obviously
us about this. You crazy bastard.
Well, to be honest, I mean, this is. I mean, I'd never really thought I'd do this, but yeah, the opportunity came up to skydive. So it's always something I kind of thought I'd like to do. Never really thought I'd have the balls to actually say yes or put my name forward to do it. And this one's going kind of like it's going bonkers. So there's Derry House are obviously trying to find as many ways as they can to fundraise because isn't just the impact of the loss of things like Stars and Cars, but there's another car show locally, like the Supercar Showtime, another bunch of brilliant guys who organise a fantastic show, which raises loads of money for the charity. But they can't do their events. They've lost all kind of local fundraising events, so they're trying all new angles to try and get some money through the door. So they've offered this opportunity for skydiving for 3 dates in July, August, September. So
you're up to 170. You're looking for a target of 450. So folks, get on there and support Colin and as he gets thrown out of an airplane. I don't know if he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to be wearing the Captain America costume during that. I hope he is.
Well, listen, loads of people have asked about the costume. I mean, you can't.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but that is pointless. You can't land. Fly, yes, land, no. So yeah, that might be a bit of a problem. Yeah, I mean, we're going to make some kind of gimmick out of it. So me and my mates, we're on about either doing something from Predator, wearing Dutch and Dylan, then having kind of a long tall Sally on in the plane, just kind of that'd be cool. So we want to do something.
This stuff will make you into goddamn sexual tyrannosaur.
We'll just sit in plane and chew tobacco, and just do that'd be cool, wouldn't it? So we want to do something. We want to do something fun. It's something gimmicky. Obviously, we can't wear costumes. I mean, it'd be cool if we could, but I think that the captain they'd turn them to pieces with the speed and stuff. So as cool as it would be, I think we'll probably end up doing. It was my mate actually who had kind of offered it the opportunity to as well, and he was like, "Oh yeah," because but first thing he thought about, because we're gonna have to do Predator, we're gonna have to do something to do with Predator. Another one of my just absolute favourite films from the 80s. In my top 3 films ever. So he's we're going to do something from that, and then I think we'll probably end up doing a poor recreation of the opening kind of arm fist clench, son of a bitch, and then we'll just dive out the plane.
Sounds good to me. Well, I hope people watching here tonight will jump on and support that, and just in general support Derry House because they do fantastic work, and Colin's done amazing work to raise a lot of money for them in the past. And we understand this is where we are at the moment. It's very difficult it's impossible to put on any kinds of events to raise money. So this is where we are. We're doing the virtual thing. So jump on and support if you can. So before we get out of here, Colin, I think I just want to cover one more little fanboy moment from your catalogue here. So I just want you to. I'm just going to pull this up, and then I want you to explain. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to keep that going the whole time we're on here, just so people know where they can support you for the Skyfall.
Skyfall.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Skyfall.
James Bond.
There you go. So tell us about this one.
I'll be honest. My screen's frozen, so I can hear you, but I can't see the screen.
Gareth Edwards.
Tell us a picture of you with Gareth Edwards.
Oh right, yeah. What an event that was! My God, the October 2017 was a special event which was organised through Disney. So we as the Garrison supported Disney directly on this because we do some work for them as kind of employees, but they will utilize us sometimes for special events that link directly to the work that they do from a film distribution perspective. But it was the 50th anniversary. Sorry, the 50th birthday, I should say,
Yes.
of composer Michael Giaccino. I think I pronounced it right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Michael had done the scores for a number of films, including Rogue One, Jurassic World. I think he'd done a couple of the Pixar films as well.
He's
Star
great.
Trek.
I think he's a shoe-in for taking over for John Williams. He did a great job on Rogue One.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I think he came in fairly late in the day to Rogue One, from what I can
3 weeks.
remember.
He did it in bloody 3 weeks. It's crazy.
Just bonkers. I mean, his version of the Imperial theme was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did an awesome job, and he did a really good job with Jurassic Park as well. I think he did the second one as well.
Yes.
The new ones. So yeah, he was brilliant, and I was kind of a fan of some of his scores anyway. And he was organising this special tribute concert at the Royal Albert Hall, and for the Rogue One section, they wanted a number of stormtroopers to go out on stage. So we had to kind of apply. There was in some of these events whereby it's a request from Disney, they need you to send some things off, and they just basically choose you. So they wanted a number of stormtroopers at reasonable the same height, of a reasonable same spec of costume, and they you put your name forward basically to be selected, and I was fortunate to be selected, and we went out on stage with Adam Savage, who was dressed as I think he was dressed as Krennic in the kind of white Imperial director outfit, and we just stood on stage with him whilst they played a suite from Rogue One, and it was amazing, but equally quite terrifying, because you kind of go out on stage, and it was kind of set that we had to be stood in a row. We had to go on kind of military style, organised, and to be honest, we couldn't see anything, and it was dark as fuck. So literally, I mean, you think obviously we see green through these lenses.
Yeah.
We had to go out on stage. We had to literally just hope the guy in front didn't trip over, knowing that we were stood literally 30 centimeters from the stage drop. There's wires and stuff all over the place because they had this full orchestra. So it was literally dancing with death to make sure we didn't fall off stage. And to me, it worked a treat. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And we just stood there. Literally, we had to just walk on stage and just hold the pose for like 5 minutes, which is quite difficult when there's people just looking at it. It's just this wall of people in front of us, as far as you could see. I mean, they're all out the hall. It's a weird venue. It doesn't look that big when you stood on stage. Yeah, it's quite strange. There's this huge surround of people, and there's wall-to-wall pictures and things. People, literally like gods. We were stood there like rock stars. It was just immense. And that's all we did. We just walked out, stood there, held the pose, and walked off. But backstage was just the amount of people that were backstage. So backstage was Colin Trevorrow, who directed Jurassic World. Wow. They nearly directed Episode 9. I really wish he had.
Same.
Because his story was meant to be brilliant. And he was backstage. So we're chatting to him. And then Gareth Edwards came in. And Gareth Edwards, you should have seen his face. I mean, it's priceless. He looked at us like he was just in awe. He was like, oh my God, proper stuff. And the thing is, and he made this comment which will always kind of stick. He said that when they were doing Rogue One, the stormtroopers they were kind of faithful to the original, but they didn't really look like the original. If you notice the original stormtroopers and then compare them to the ones in Rogue One, you can see the difference. You can see the difference in the armor. There's a weird V shape where the kind of crotches, because they wanted them to move around a lot more. Yeah. So he just said they were cool, but for him they weren't the proper stormtroopers. And when he looked at us in the original New Hope armor, he was like, the proper stormtroopers. He was mesmerized. It was weird to see, because we were looking at him thinking, oh my God, this is the director of Rogue One.
And he's looking at you.
And he was looking at us, and he was like, can I have a picture? Can I have a picture? Can I have a picture? It was really weird. So yeah, he kind of went round up. We had a group shot with him, but the smile on his face was just massive. And we took helmets off and we were chatting to him about the film and things. That was brilliant. But there was also I mean, Adam Savage himself, he was brilliant. He was the same. He was just in awe. And this kind of comes back to this kind of point I said at the beginning, when you see the garrison, when you see a group of stormtroopers in a small space, and we were kind of stood at backstage, and we were all lined up, and there's like 10 of us. It's just awesome to see. Just 10 stormtroopers just in a row. Proper stormtroopers. They look like proper stormtroopers, act like proper stormtroopers, kind of move like proper stormtroopers. Yeah. So we were all kind of well drilled. And yeah, to those guys, even the guys who made the film, they were looking at us kind of like, oh my God, proper stormtroopers. So that was just brilliant. The
nice one.
Occasionally we get an experience like that. I mean, I was unfortunate because I missed out on the premiere. So when it was the Force Awakens premiere, my suit was just still being built, and I was a bit gutted. I got a bit delayed and behind with it, and I didn't get it in for the premiere. I managed to go and help out, and that was an experience. Managed to see Ford.
Yeah, you were in the same room as the Ford, you bastard.
Wow.
Yeah, literally 10 feet from Lucas. Yeah. That was crazy. But the occasionally in the garrison there is an event like that, which you can get involved in, which in many ways acts as a massive recruitment drive. The amount of people that joined the club after those premieres was bonkers, really. Yeah. But really, whilst there is the occasional big ticket event, again, the real profile, the real work that we do is for charity, and it'll never be anything more than that.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, 100%.
Good memories, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, is there anywhere people can go apart from to your link to support Daring House or Stars and Cars before we get out of here, just to let people know?
Well, we Stars and Cars events is on Facebook. We've got a Facebook page. That's where we're most active. We've also got an Instagram page. There's a lot of pictures on there if you want to check out the pictures. If you want to find out about any of the activities that we do, we hope to be able to do something once Boris lifts lockdown in June. So if all that goes to plan, we're looking to try and do something outdoor. So we won't be able to do the big indoor arena event without really a good 6 months of no lockdown and good planning. Sure. But we'll probably look to do something outdoors, and we might be able to get 10 cars all together in that parade that you mentioned, Matt, something along those lines, organised, hopefully kind of August, September time. Subject to everything going to plan. So yeah, Facebook and Instagram, we've got accounts on there. If you want to check out anything about the UK Garrison, you go to the ukgarrison.co.uk, and there's a lot of information there about the club if you want to join and become a stormtrooper or any other costume from Star Wars or beyond. Check out the website and get on the forums and find out a lot of expert advice from a lot of brilliant people.
Excellent.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much, Colin, and I hope to see you in person very, very soon.
Without the beard. Is the beard gone now then? Is the beard a thing of the past?
For now. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
it'll probably be back by the time I see you. By the time I see you again, it'll be down here, won't it?
Nice one.
Nice one, mate. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks.
All the best. Good night, folks. Cheers. May the force be with you.